Here's an example. This project has negative MPV, right? And looking at that, I have a down 45-degree arrow, right? We know that that means the negative value of the MPV is within plus or minus 10% of the cost of the project. So it's not acceptable, but it's not too bad either. So if there are some factors that may allow me to consider this project, I'm going to go after them. One of those things is, okay, let's assume that the cost of the project or equipment is what it is. But since I'm forecasting these things, maybe things, because of forecasting risk, things either are going to be a lot better than I thought they would be, or they're going to be a lot worse than I thought they would be. In both cases, I have certain options to consider. And one of those options is option to abandon. Well, right now I'm estimating that I'm going to be selling 2.79 million, whatever that number is. Okay. And suppose I went ahead with the project, and after year one, I realized, oh man, I could only sell 2.5 million. And it at 2.5 million, again, we'll cover this in upper level finance classes. It may be more beneficial to me to simply scrap the whole thing because I know I'm going to lose a lot of money if I continue with the project in years 2 and 3. Okay. Of course, this is exercise. Most projects of this sort have rather long lives, 5 years, 10 years. So if I realize during year one that if I get the bad draw from this forecasting risk, I can simply scrap the whole thing and not realize the losses in years 2 through 10. If I have the good draw, I'm going to make more money anyway. So that option to abandon has value. It may be more beneficial to simply close the project. It sounds like we overestimated the sales and we're not going to realize those losses. Option to abandon can make uh, negative MPV projects profitable. How that depends upon the so-called decision tree, statistical analysis and stuff. And at this level, I'm not going to get into that, but we do cover those in upper level finance classes. There's another option, option to expand. Again, right now, this project has negative MPV, but it's not too negative. And I said, okay, let's go on with the project. Suppose I get the good draw. Instead of 2.77, things are a lot better than I thought they would be. I'm going to make $3.2 million. Uh, in fact, I can see that. Suppose, let me see, 2.77. Suppose actual sales are 2.97 million. I can easily calculate the effect of that on the OCF. That's going to 200,000 times And that's going to be, suppose I added plus, if that happens, this project actually becomes more profitable. Maybe if that happens, I may expand the size of the project. That means I'll even make even more money. So option to abandon has value, option to expand has value. Come on. This implies becomes greater than 283,000. So option to expand has value. There is another option, timing. Right now, based on my current estimates, I don't. I have negative NPV. But depending upon the project, I may have an option to wait a little bit before I put everything in place. Then 1 year later, I make new estimates, economy changes, what have you. You know, depending upon who the president is, things may be much better. For example, right now, suppose you're considering an investment project. There is so much uncertainty because we don't know what Trump is going to do tomorrow about this tariff policy. This is independent of whether or not you believe these tariffs are a good idea. For your own ideological reasons, political reasons, what have you, you may even think it's a good idea. The trouble is, we don't know what's going to happen. When was the Liberation Day? April 2nd, right? Okay. The 2 days after April 2nd, markets declined over 12%. Okay. You know, S&P, even S&P 500 was in the so-called bear market territory, which means it dropped 20% or more from a recent peak. So your 401ks have become actually 325ks, right? You know, 80% of 401. Then about a few days later, he's seen what was happening in the bond market. The long end of the bond market yield curve was skyrocketing. More than likely, China and Japan are dumping long US assets and investing them in euro denominated assets. In fact, when you looked at the yield curve on the bonds, bonds are the nickname for German treasury bonds. It comes from Bundesrepublik bonds, hence affectionately they're called the bonds. Both the 10-year and 30-year bond rates have gone down quite a bit while the US was going up. Somebody is getting out of US assets and not even the stock market, just the bond market. The most liquid bond market in the world. In fact, whenever something fishy is going on in the economy, typically bond yields go down, even on the long end. This is called the concept of or phenomenon of flight to safety. They're considered safe assets. So here, with all the volatility, not only stock market was crashing, so was the bond market, and that scared Trump quite a bit. And he did his pause thing, except for China. Turns out, even on China, he's keeping electronics, smartphones, and stuff out of that. Again, ideologically, you may think whatever you want. The trouble is, I don't know what he's going to do tomorrow. or 90 days from now. So if I'm considering an investment project, it's probably not a good idea to start it right now. But it may be, I mean, as of now, he increased the risk of everything. So effectively, my discount rates are going to be higher, right? You know, if nothing, uh, the 10-year yields run up. So that's going to increase my discount rate. Plus, the perceived risk premium in the stock market run up. That's going to increase the discount rates. But about 6 months from now, when Trump gets a lot of pressure from uh, the House members who are going to run for re-election in 2026, that he may decide, okay, I brought a lot of people to the table. As usual, he declares victory, whether he wins or not. And then I can say, okay, volatility is not there. So I have a timing option. That means even negative NPV projects may be profitable.